Hey, 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 good morning, good morning. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday, April 2nd. I don't understand how we are in April already, but we are in April. Good morning and happy Thursday. It feels like the months just kind of flew by, and I don't really understand how this is going so fast. But good morning. Happy April. It is April 2nd, Thursday, April 2nd. And so thank you for joining me for the third part of this three-part series, which was supposed to be a two-part series. So thank you for joining me for this third part of how I got into publishing. Now, this is the journey from Charlotte to Minnesota, where I now reside. And so, if you watched the first video, you know that I was sharing my love of books, and every recommendation that was by John Eckhart and reading those. You know that I met Stephen Strange, the publisher of Charisma, and Javon Bowden, who is now the primary founder and literary agent of Embolden Media Group, and how I moved to New York and got my master's in publishing. How I thought I was going to be there for 2 years just to get my master's, and ended up being there for 7 years. In the second video, I talked a little bit about New York. And then I started talking about my move to Charlotte and how that came about. But I was also looking through some of my old journals and things like that, and realized that when I interviewed for Penguin Random House, it was December 9th, 2021, and I started MLK Day of 2022. And so I stayed at Penguin Random House, which I absolutely loved as an editorial assistant, supporting, I think it was 9 other editors for their children's division, their gift division, and then the nonfiction and fiction side of Waterbrook, Multnomah, and Ink and Willow, which I absolutely loved. I absolutely loved working there. I have a bookshelf to my right, and that bookshelf is literally all Penguin Random House books. Um, yeah. So whether it is like Waterbrook, whether it's Multnomah, whether it's Conversion, I know they did this the whole split, but whether it's Multnomah, Waterbrook, Conversion, or Ink and Willow, there is a top shelf specifically that is all of the coloring books. Because every coloring book that Ink and Willow came out with, I was like, can I have it? Can I have that one? And that one and that one. And so I still have a whole bookshelf that is dedicated to Waterbrook and Multnomah books, or PRH books as a whole. And so I started there, MLK Day, or the day after MLK Day in 2022. And then I stayed there until September of 2024, where I transitioned and started working for Baker Publishing Group as the acquisition editor. And so at Penguin Random House, I loved it, didn't want to move, would have stayed as the editorial assistant for however many years, or however, long that would have taken to move up. I've worked with some amazing authors, had the privilege of working with some amazing authors and getting to know agents really, really well. And it was just a fun, phenomenal, great time. And I really, really love that time. And then I got the opportunity um, to attend probably a conference that I was paying on my own. Um, to attend the conference. I think it was probably Joshua Giles' conference, and he did a Mantle to Write session, and Javon was leading. It was Javon, it was Kim Bangs, the editorial director of Baker. It was Larry Sparks. He is I think, the publisher of Destiny Image. Yeah, I think it was the three of them together, and I was so excited about that. Just like so excited about attending that, about attending Mantle. I mean, it was huge, and I think that year it was in a convention center, and so I was all kind of lost and all kind of turned around and all those things, and it was crazy. But I was there. I was excited. I was there to support Javon, whatever she needed. I was there to help and have fun and enjoy and serve and talk books and talk publishing and sit in on all the conversations and have conversations with those that would come to the table to buy Pray Here Right, or whatever it was. Love that. And that was my first encounter with Kim Banks, and some of the other people that came to the conference. Now that I think about it, it might have been. Yeah, at the Minnesota Convention Center. Um, and so during that initial introduction, because I was so excited about meeting them, I was like, "Can we take a photo? Like, there is, Baker Publishing Group is here, and Destiny Image is here, and I met Charisma." And so I felt like I was in the bubble of like all the spirit-led, spirit-filled, charismatic publishing companies, because there was Destiny Image at the time. I think there was Whitaker House. There was Charisma, and then I knew about Chosen just a tad bit because of Joshua Giles and Deborah Giles. And so in that conversation, I was like, after they did their session or whatever, I was like, can we take a photo? And so we took a photo. I was so excited. I remember what I had on because I bought a t-shirt from the conference and I bought it late. And so I probably had on like an extra large and I was feeling all kinds of ways and wearing that big old shirt, trying to take a picture with these people. Um, but anyway, that was my introduction to Kim Bangs and Chosen specifically, not even Baker Publishing Group. And so we had a conversation while I was attending or was planning on attending the next conference that Joshua Giles was having. So we had a conversation, and I never knew that Baker Publishing Group was looking for an acquisition editor. I probably never would have applied. I probably would have thought like, nah, that's not a fit for me. Like I can't necessarily do it. I don't think I have the skill set. Like I'm fine with just being an editorial assistant at Penguin Random House because I absolutely love Penguin Random House. I love being able to shadow other editors and like contribute to editorial memos and developmental edits and all of that. And so that gave me the experience that I needed. It provided this joy that I had. And when I was working at Penguin Random House is when I started this author prayer series and the literary agent prayer series. And so being at Penguin Random House meant a lot to me. And I'm still in communication with Penguin Random House because I'm in their influencer program for Harmony, Convergent, and Rodell. And so I still get their books. I have a book over there called The Stimulated Mind, and I'm sure that is from Penguin Random House, and that came out, I think, last week. So I'm still heavily influenced by Penguin Random House and all of their books. So then I started a conversation with Baker Publishing Group about the acquisition editor position and did the interviews and all of those things, and then realized that this could be an actual possibility. And so I was consulting with all the wise counsel that I have around me and thought this would be a good fit. Like I've already loved the books. I'm in the space. I love the books. I love the authors. I love the conferences. Like it was a natural fit in my mind of the things that I actually love personally and love professionally. And so I jumped right over and started there at September 2024. And that was great. And it was wonderful. I was attending the conferences that I would normally pay for out of my own pocket. I was talking to the people that I would normally talk to. I was getting in communication with agents that represent these pastors, these apostles, pastors, evangelists, teachers, apostles, prophets, pastors, evangelists, and teachers. Yes. I was getting to know agents that support them, agents that um, advocate for them. And it wasn't that many agents that I was in communication with. Most of them was either through Embolden Media Group, or there was some. I think there is a woman that I can't think of her name. I think her name is Cynthia. It might be Cheryl. I think it was like Cheryl Ricks. So that might have been another agent that I was communicating with. But most of these authors were unagented. And so that was a different journey because at Penguin Random House, we only work with agents and authors. And so at Baker Publishing Group, I was connecting with authors one on one, which I loved, and agented authors. And so I feel like that gave me a new skill set of like communicating heart and vision and passion, and hearing authors communicate their heart and their vision and their passion, and being able to hone in on their proposals and give feedback for their proposals and sit in pub board and pitch and all of those great and wonderful things. And so from that time of working with Chosen, there came a point where I was ready to move, and I wanted to move to Texas. because I was like, there's already community there. I already know people there. I already know what church I belong to. Like, I don't have to worry about finding a place to serve. I don't have to worry about finding a church to serve in. I don't have to worry about finding people, because one of the things is, even in these moves, though they were great professionally, personally, they weren't wonderful communities for me. So it was challenging. I'm in New York to find community. It was challenging in Charlotte for sure to find community, to find a place to lock in, and to find a place to serve, and to find necessarily a place of belonging in the local body. And so I knew that once I got to Charlotte, or not Charlotte, once I got to Texas, I wouldn't have to worry about finding community, having a place of belonging, having a place to serve, having a church to serve in, having my people, because I would already have my people. But I knew the Lord also wanted me to move to Minnesota, and I was like, no, I'm not having it. I don't want to do that. I really, really did not want to move to Minnesota at all. I just did not, because I knew who I knew in Minnesota, and I knew in my mind that that wasn't necessarily enough. Like, I didn't want to have the struggle of having a place, of not being able to find community in the place where I was moving to. I wanted built-in community, and I think the pattern of moving to all these different places and not having community just kind of struck me as something I did not want to do. And I was doing all of this remote, so there was no point in moving to Minnesota because I was doing all of this remote. But I knew God wanted me to move to Minnesota, and so even though I was trying to plan my way to Texas and do all the things, and all the doors was closing, and couldn't rent an apartment, couldn't get a roommate for a house, like all these things were closing because I was not being obedient to the Lord and moving to Minnesota. And so things got a little bit dire. And I was like, Lord, if you just open the door, I'll move to Minnesota. If you just like open the door. And so I came here and I visited a ton of places, and it was probably when it was below something, negative 24 or negative something. It was ridiculous because it was in that season where, I mean, it's snowing today, so whatever. Um but I moved there. I had a friend. She gave me a list of places. I started my own list of venturing outside of her list. And she's like, girl, I vetted the list. Look at the list. And so I went through all the list of probably 9 places that she sent me. And by the ninth place, I was like, this is it. Okay. We just tired of looking around, and this is it. And so I moved to Minnesota first. But I didn't move my things from North Carolina right away. I just moved to Minnesota and then got my stuff squared away afterwards. Um, and it has been a journey here in Minnesota. It has been a journey making the adjustment, because most people would tell me all right off the riff that, like, don't expect to find community really easy, that people that live in Minnesota have been born here, born and raised here, and they have their people. And so it'll be hard for you to get into the friend circle. And so I found that to be true in some instances, in some not. But I journeyed from Charlotte, started in acquisition editor at September of 2024, and then by October 3rd of 2025, I was no longer at Chosen, and so um, I told mentors and wise counsel that, hey, I'm no longer there, and they've just kind of checked in, see how I was doing, and then I started pivoting. Maybe a few months after that, doing writing workshops for a small group of writers here, and building community that way, building kind of a writing community and going to more literary events, just not even to network, but just to see what the literary scene is around here in Minnesota. And so I am currently doing one-on-ones with authors. I'm conducting writing workshops. I'm writing the vision for a couple other things that I am expanding, a writing collective. I've had this blueprint for this writing collective for such a long time, and I have not done anything with it. And so I'm going to dust off those visions and that blueprint and get it started. Um, but I just want to thank you, because I am on my 15-minute mark, for joining me for this 3-part series of how I got into publishing, starting from my love of books about spiritual warfare and prayer and deliverance to being in Chicago and then getting accepted to Pace University in New York and moving from Pace to Charlotte and starting in Charlotte at Penguin Random House and then moving from that area to now Minnesota and my journey through acquisition editor at Baker Publishing Group and now being more solidified in this publishing consulting space where I am helping to run a school community and where I'm doing writing workshops and writing one-on-ones. And so my heart is still directly tied into the literary community. I'm still doing the author prayer series. I'm doing this YouTube for authors channel, and I've pivoted just a tad bit doing the YouTube for Authors channel, and I'm still doing author interviews and reviews. I am in the influencer program for Penguin Random House, and I'm still doing reviews for them. I'm in the Baker Publishing Group influencer program, and so I'm still reading books and writing reviews for that. And so I'm loving the space that I'm in. It's a bit challenging, but I mean, I'm rocking with the Lord, and He's rocking with me. So here we are on this journey, and I will be back here on Tuesday as we celebrate all these authors and their newly released books because there's like 8 of them on Tuesday. I think I own 2 or 3 of them out of the 8, and then I'll be back here on Thursday as I talk more, not about how I got started into publishing, but just some frequently asked questions. That I can start on about like how to find literary agents, how to devote more time to writing. I have a whole slew of ideas that I will be fleshing out every Thursday going forward. So stick here. Come on back on Thursday and on Tuesdays as I dive more into this YouTube for Authors channel and into the Author Prayer Series. I'll see you back here on Tuesday. Have a great day. Bye.